Hey everyone, welcome to the recap of the Walking Dead universe. We are here live every week to discuss the latest episode. You can catch our recaps anytime, available on most podcast platforms, so subscribe for free in the app of your choice, including YouTube. For those of you joining us live today, thanks so much for taking time out of your evening, morning, or afternoon to be here, depending on where you are in the world. I'm Tamara Ford, and I love a good TV show and a good book, of course. So if you'd like to reach out to me, you can find me on Instagram and Twitter at the Recap Pods. And if you're into books, you can also find me at Shelf Addiction. Joining me is show co-host Lisa. Welcome, Lisa.
Hey, Tamara. Hey, everyone. My name is Lisa Orban. I am an author. I am also the founder of Indies United Publishing House, and I love all things pop culture. And I can't wait to talk about tonight's episode.
Yeah, me too. So
Also, you can find me everywhere online at Lisa Orban Author. Sorry about that.
No problem. So if you are catching this on a replay, you can still comment on any platform or by using the voicemail link below in the show notes. We want to hear from you. And if you are right here live with us on YouTube or Facebook, hit us up in the comment section as well, because we want to hear your thoughts on yesterday's episode. So if you are new here, we are laid back in our review style, right, Lisa?
Absolutely. This is a conversation, not a dissertation.
Right. No scene by scene breakdowns here. We jump around, and huge spoiler alert for everything, every show up through this week's episode. So if you're cool with that, this is the place for you, right?
Absolutely.
All
and
right.
we don't go ahead, even though we can.
I know we totally can, but we don't. We're good about that. So today, FYI, for those of you that have AMC Premiere or Plus or whatever the hell it's called, we are going to talk about the Dead in the Water webisode at the end. So if you want to hang out and talk about that, hang out to the end, and if you don't have it, no worries. We won't bother you with that on the front of the show. So we're going to jump into season 11 part 2 of 3 mid-season finale, right?
It's the end of the middle.
The end of the middle. I'm like, what a mouthful. I'm like, 2 of 3 mid-season. So is this the second mid-season finale technically?
Well, no, because we had the beginning end and then we have the middle end.
Right. So this is the middle end, right?
That's right. This is the middle end. Not Middle Earth, middle end.
Right. Lord have mercy.
Although if Hobbit showed up at this point, it honestly wouldn't surprise me.
Oh my gosh. I know, right? So there's a lot going on in this episode. I pretty much liked it. How'd you like it?
I did like it. I thought it was a good moving episode. I was a little, I don't know. I kept thinking that, I don't know, that there was something that they should have touched on, but I can't quite put my finger on what it should have been. Maybe Carol, because with everything going on, I'm kind of surprised Carol wasn't in this episode at all.
Yeah.
But Ezekiel showed up. I'm here.
I'm here with the cavalry. We're ready to ride. Right. Let's go.
We're ready to ride, and he was. And I mean, and you can tell that everything's starting to just kind of vortex around whatever's going to happen. That's where they left us. Everything is kind of in this. It's in a bad place, which is
very bad place.
Which is where they always leave us, during a finale, in a very bad place. Make sure we come back. And
but with that said, so not to nitpick that quite yet, but on a higher level, I kind of feel like with them, I wish that AMC wouldn't have revealed to us the upcoming spinoffs.
Or
Only
at least had
because,
waited.
right, waited until after. I feel like they should have waited till we got really close to the end of season 11.
Yeah.
And the only reason why is because I feel like there is no, I guess, there's no fear of any of the major characters being killed off, right?
Well, I
Because we
mean,
know they live, most of them. Well, some
I
of
mean,
them.
so we know that Carol will live, Daryl will
Uh-huh.
live, Maggie and Negan.
Maggie and
But those are the only four that we know for sure.
right.
So, I mean, that does leave, Father Gabriel. It leaves uh Princess, it leaves Lydia.
Yeah, I have low expectation of them killing any of them because in this mid-season, yeah, Leah died, right? Leah,
Mhm.
whatever. And that other guy who is not a main character, I can't think of his name.
I'm
But
looking.
there was no no main character death, okay?
No, no, there wasn't.
And with so few episodes left, I really just don't think they'll have the balls to do it. I don't think they'll have the balls to kill anybody on the main cast. And
You might be you might be right. I don't know. I mean,
Marco, thank you, Karina.
yeah. I mean, I
Um,
could see maybe honestly, I could see him killing Father Gabriel. I
you
could see
think?
that.
Mm,
Yeah, I can. I kind of got that vibe a little bit this episode.
mm-hmm.
Um not and I didn't think he was going to die in this episode, but it's kind of like I don't know. I feel like whenever there's a moral compass on the show, they tend to die. You
Mm,
know?
mm-hmm. I get that. And I mean, honestly, I'm at the point where I want this to go out with a bang so bad. I want this to end on such a high. I'm okay with several of them being killed
Mhm.
just for it to be impactful. And that's what I want. I want to feel all the feels, all the emotions, even if I'm slightly upset about it or surprised about it, right?
Mhm.
I'd rather have that than skate through this whole thing and then, oh, everyone just skip off into the sunset. I would be so pissed. Like, that's not how things
I
like this would go in the real world.
Right. Well, and you have to okay, real quick before I go to my comment. I want
Mhm.
to point out what Cleo said. If they hadn't have announced what the Maggie spinoff, then the beatdown would have been much more impactful. And she's right
Mhm.
because if we had no idea she was going to make it or not, I'm here to tell you, I would have been sitting on the edge of my seat. Oh my god,
Is
are
she
they going
gonna
to kill
kill
her
it?
off?
Right.
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 And
Exactly.
so I feel that, I have felt that since since I felt that a lot with some of these characters, like, when they first announced Carol and Daryl. Like, okay, I can see that. Because
Mhm.
I actually either way expected the two of them to make it to the very end, just
Mhm.
because. But for the rest of the characters, like Negan and Maggie and stuff, it kind of it blunted that impact.
Yes. Absolutely, because that could have been the most nail-biting scene ever, and
Oh
instead, I'm watching it blandly because we all know Maggie's not gonna die.
yeah, and then Daryl comes in, blam, just kills her. I mean, there was no hesitation.
I know, right? And I mean, and you know what? I was happy that it went down like that because I feel like we've questioned in the past, would he try to step in and do something again? I'm like, he let her go the first time and he shouldn't have.
Right. But you know what? He could see it at that point. I mean, there was no stopping her, and Maggie is family,
Oh yeah.
and
It's like you come in a room, you see your ex that you weren't even with for that long standing
mm-hmm,
over your sibling, you're gonna kill the ex. Period.
exactly.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's yeah. I mean, Maggie is family. I mean, Maggie is longtime family.
Oh yeah.
There. I mean, I didn't think that if it was a either or, absolutely. I knew that he would choose Maggie, but I got to tell you, there was no hesitation. Bam! And away she went.
Right.
So he was well over. any feelings he might have had for
He
her.
just reacted as he should have, you know.
Exactly. I mean, so, so we had that whole thing going on there, and then of course we've got Lance and his plan, which basically, raising the or clearing the field. His
Mhm.
plan at this point is, I don't even think Alexandria is safe at this point. I think whatever's going on inside that city is not good. And
Inside
we
Commonwealth, you mean?
no, I mean inside of Alexandria.
Oh, okay.
No, I mean because Lance is. I mean he wanted to make. He's taken over Hilltop. He's taken over Alexandria, and the last scene was there at
Can I just
Oceanside.
say how when those flags rolled down, it reminds me of like movies with the Nazis taking over
Yeah,
places.
absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean that had a real nice, not Nazi-esque feel to
Yeah.
it, and I felt that.
It was like doom and gloom, like, oh my God.
Well, and
Like,
I think it was the colors too.
hmm
I mean the the red on the banners and the way it was put together. It really, if you it wasn't the exact symbol, don't get me wrong, but it had the feel of the Nazi flags that they would hang,
yes.
hang. You know,
Yeah, it was the vibe, you know, it was the we're here, you're out, we're taking over. And that very last scene,
mm-hmm.
okay, I'm like, what is he, Two-Face from like the Batman series flipping the coin? When did he start flipping the coin shit? Like that's new for this
No, it's
episode.
not.
I
No,
don't
because he
remember
was
him doing it.
no he because remember, he's been actually doing it since we kind of met him. It's just not been as extravagant. And
He's
then
been doing it for decision making.
well, we've seen him flip the coin, but he's never made a vocalization.
Right. But now he's like, "Oh, flip the coin. What team are you going on? Flip the
Yeah.
coin. Are you going to live or die?" I'm like, "Wait, he's never done that."
Well, when he was talking to Maggie, he told her at that when he was flipping that coin that everything's a game of chance at this point. It's the flip of a coin. And I mean, he's definitely gone over the edge, don't get me wrong. He's losing some touch with reality here. But he's flipped that coin for a while, and I think he's made a lot of decisions with it. It's just up until this episode, it was never this blatant, and it is blatant this time.
I feel like this just seemed so extreme for his character. It's like all of a sudden they flipped the switch and he just got 100 times worse. Like
Well,
before, we talked about him. We were like, well, how dangerous is he? Right? We know he'll send people to do the dirty work. We know he'll do
mhm,
that. But is he
yeah,
about to, commit genocide? Yes, he is.
yes, he is. Well, I think what it was is, the everything has been going pretty swimmingly for him, all things being equal, since the apocalypse. And then he finally has run into something that he has no control over, because he really has control over the Commonwealth. But he wants to be the front guy. He wants to be the governor. Um, and and basically he knows that the only way he can do that is by getting these guys, he he has technical permission to try and convince them, you know. But he
Hmm.
knows that from the Commonwealth, he knows that, uh, I just had her name and I forgot it. The leader,
Pamela.
Pamela. Pamela, she's not going to come back and look. You
Right.
know, who else is? I mean, there's no one of any authority that's going to come and check up on him, see what's going on. If the people in Alexandria, Hilltop, and Oceanside just disappear, you know.
So how is he going to explain that? So like, okay, let's assume you're right and she does not check at all whatsoever.
Hmm.
And he comes back and he says, "Hey, Pamela, I did it. All three of these communities are with us." How is he going to expect things to happen with these communities when no one's in them?
Well, they have been taking people and shuffling them off. He could repopulate with other groups that I mean, at Hilltop he could move in the drug runners. I don't
Mhm.
know.
Mhm.
I mean, he could siphon off enough people that he could turn them back into functional communities again.
Yeah, I
Um,
mean, obviously, lots of people can just leave from the Commonwealth and no one really care about it too much.
hmm all he has to do is really go send his shock troops in and grab up whatever, the what they consider the low life scum that won't be missed,
Yeah, yeah.
and just forcefully relocate them.
Mm.
And as long as they're producing, and becoming quote unquote active members of their little consortium, is
Mhm.
Pamela really going to check into it? I mean, she wouldn't even know these people anyway. She makes no she doesn't hide the fact that she doesn't give two shits about the lower class.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean,
You know,
come on.
Joy makes a good statement. Like, does Lance think the rest of the family wouldn't ask what happened to Daryl, Max, Gabe, and Aaron? Like, where are they? What happened?
Yeah, but he's
They
trying
never
to,
come back? Where are
yeah.
they?
Well, accidents happen. Walkers
So
happen.
all of them, no way. This group of people have survived everything.
I
There
know
is
that.
no way they would just be dead.
Right. But
Oops.
here's the thing. You know that. I know that. Okay.
Yeah.
All the watchers of this show know that. But Lance is only now really beginning to understand what kind of survivors these guys are.
Yeah.
I mean, truly understanding. So, I mean, I really think his idea was, because again, he was going to kill Father Gabriel. He was going to kill Daryl and Aaron, and I think he was just going to try to push it under the rug and say, well, we had a lot of losses. We were clearing out buildings, and you know, it happened, and expecting people to go, oh, okay, because they do have a high loss in their troop count.
Yeah.
So, you know, but the thing of it is up to this point, honestly, he's really only dealt with people that have been inside the walls, at least most of the time. He's never really dealt with true survivors.
Yeah. When they were clearing out those homes, it did not, like, I felt like they were going to kill them or try to kill them eventually.
Oh yeah,
Like,
I got that from the get go.
mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So, like, as soon as he gave them the word, like, return home or something, like, that's the key word to kill him.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know. I mean, Lance is in a whole heap of trouble now because I think everyone that's out in the field, they're gunning for him.
Yeah. Well, and you have to also think. I mean, I think part of the reason why Lance is acting so insane is because he feels backed into a corner. One, he's told Pamela, "I got this," and he did not got this. And number two, he doesn't like being told no.
Which
The
is ultimately so stupid when you think about it because, like, Pamela ultimately said, it's not worth it.
mm-hmm.
So this is his own, he's doing this to himself.
Yeah.
She's not putting him under this pressure. He's doing
No.
this to himself because she's like, okay, fuck it. We can't get him. We can't get him. It's not worth the energy.
Right. But he has a grand plan, and that's the problem.
Mm-hmm.
He had this idea. He got this idea in his head, and you know, he was aware of he was aware of these groups, and he really thought he could manipulate them. You
Mm-hmm.
know, warm beds and hot meals, and hot and cold running water. And he thought that was going to be all it took, because think about it, all the people that they have been taking in over the years. That's really all it took. A
Mm-hmm.
hot meal, a warm bed, hot and cold running water.
Yeah.
And they would put up with anything, all the crap that these guys have been put through. They're like, oh, okay, well, it's still better than being out there.
Right.
But this group is not that. And especially like Maggie's group, and and the people on Oceanside, they're very independent. They have been this whole time. So
Yeah. They've always been kind of like a side note this whole time.
yeah, they really should have done more with Oceanside, but that's
Yeah.
neither here nor there.
Mm-hmm.
But again, they so this whole grand plan he had in his head, that he figured, I think he really thought it would be easy, that it was going to be something simple, a little bit of bribery, a little bit of threat of force, and everyone would cave.
Mm-hmm.
And then when it didn't, and everything started going sideways, he's losing his mind. And
Mm-hmm.
it's making him more and more reckless because he knows he can't go back at this point empty handed. He can't.
Mm-hmm.
But everything he's doing is just making it worse. So it really is for him a do or die situation because with all the losses that he's already had to all those troops and everything else, if he goes back to Pamela and say, I lost all of them.
Right, because she doesn't know he's been doing that, siphoning off the troops and using them for different errands.
Exactly.
But Karina is right. Team family have eaten dogs together. They are
Yeah,
bonded. They are bonded.
exactly.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, he made a miscalculation based
Mm-hmm.
on the situation he knew, not the
Right.
reality of the situation.
I mean, honestly, he should have had a clear idea that something was not what he thought it could be when his own, you know, cleaner upper guy gets taken out. Like he dies.
Yeah.
You sent that crazy dude and he's the one that dies and everyone else from this group lived. So he should
Well,
know he underestimated them just from that and that
right.
alone.
Well, I mean, if you think about it though, at this point, so crazy cleanup guy that he sent out was already sent out because he has lost too many troops, and he said so.
Yeah.
All right, to Pamela. Now, on top of that, they sent out another, unit, all of which are now dead.
Yeah.
All right. And now, so he's brought out more troops, and about half of them are dead.
Yes.
So this is a lot of people. Sorry, guys.
Yeah. And I mean,
And
troops, they just don't regenerate like that. Like, oh, we lost 20 team members. Let's just
yeah.
grab 20
Well,
more. That
I,
doesn't work.
I think I mean, at this point, I think it's probably closer to 60 altogether.
Yeah, probably.
And that's on
Probably.
top of all the ones that they've lost doing their stupid little errands to grab money and shit.
Yeah. Well, they were sending regular ass people
Yeah,
out to
but they
do
were also
that.
sending troops. You could see that they
Yeah,
sent out troops too.
a
I think
combination.
they probably tried troops first and then they started sending in civilians. But yeah, so I mean, in his quest for power, he is, in the larger scheme of things, has probably lost about 100 people down this essentially money pit. Um, and he can't go back because unless he has something to show for it, because at this point, if he takes over all these cities and kills everyone, he can go back and say, "Man, another group came along.
Mm-hmm.
We
Mm-hmm.
all fought to the bitter end. These are the ones that survived." Um, but on the back, but we killed all of the bad guys. We did prevail, but the cities are now open and we can, move our people in now. He can find an excuse. He can figure something out.
He
Um,
can't
but
flip
the
a story.
but the only way he can do that is if he kills everyone there.
Okay, so question. Do you think, and you guys in the audience tell us your assumptions or what you think is possible, do you think he will actually attempt to kill those people? Because
Okay.
I wonder, because you know how sometimes when people flip a coin, they just flip the
Mm-hmm.
coin for show, but they already know what they're going to do.
Mm-hmm. Oh
What do you
yeah,
think?
he's got all those people lined up at Oceanside. Okay, that is a
Mhm.
firing squad moment right there. And
Mhm.
I think only at this point the only way that it is going to stop is if somehow the people from one other group, Alexandria or something, stops them. I really otherwise I think
Yeah.
Oceanside and now here's the thing. I am pretty sure Oceanside is going to make it.
You think
All
so?
right.
Okay.
I think so.
Mhm.
Um but I'm pretty sure at this point he has every intention because why else would you line up all those people like that? That's a firing squad. That's a Nazi moment right there. There's a Nazi moment. Go with their
Mhm.
flags.
Mhm. Okay, so we've got one person saying Oceanside is toast. Someone else says he'll kill half of them. Someone else says he'll kill a few.
Mm-hmm.
And I tend to agree with probably closer to Cleo and Karina. I think he'll start killing them and then something will happen
Yeah.
that just, all of a sudden the fire squad has to look somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
I can't believe they'd kill like a whole But it would be an easy way to make a shocking move without killing anyone important. Again, more throwaway
Yeah.
characters.
Well, and we have no idea what's happening inside of Alexandria. They didn't show anything. What they showed was troops walking into the gates and then the flags or the banners dropping. We have no idea what happened to any of the people in there.
Yeah.
And Grace is in there. We know
Yeah.
Grace is in there.
Yeah.
We know that, there's at least 50 Alexandrians
Yeah,
in
Luke is
there.
there. Ricky Grimes says, yeah, Luke is there.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So,
So they're not, so that alone, I guess, not everyone will die, but maybe a good amount of them will die.
yeah. So, yeah, like I said, he's got off the deep end, and there's no stopping him at this point. Then when we go back to the Commonwealth, information is being found. Pamela's son has definitely gone off the deep end.
Yeah.
he,
I mean,
he
Eugene
is.
calls him like a little psychopath.
Yeah, well, he is.
Yeah.
And he's drunk and belligerent and carrying on, and but they found the information they needed. And
So what was up with that scene? That scene between him and are we calling her Max or are we calling her Stephanie? I mean, because Stephanie was not her real name,
yeah, let's
right?
call her Max. Max is
Okay,
fine.
Max. Um, that whole scene was kind of weird because like he seemed, I don't know, I thought it would be something more than him just drunkenly, stumbling around, talking shit about coffee being a poor man's drug. Like what?
Mm-hmm.
That whole scene was just weird and out of place. Like, and then he didn't even see anything of importance that he could go and tell on her. So,
No, but I mean, I think it was just. I think they wanted to bring him on in a scene so everyone could see how far he has gone. Him and Lance are pretty much in tandem, sliding way down. You know.
I mean, he's always been a brat, right? He's
Mm-hmm.
always kind of had that, I do what I want. You know who I am. But when he came in there asking for his mother like a little weak ass baby, like what is going on? Like he was mad his mother wasn't there, and oh, you'll get in touch with her, you'll contact her. I mean that whole thing. I'm like, what is this? What is the
Well,
point?
I think part of it is because up until this point he had been very pampered. Okay, he got everything he wanted. He got to do anything he wanted. He got to be the big man on campus. You know who my mommy is. Um, and this is a rich, spoiled brat who has suddenly been cut off in a very dangerous world, and he's not happy. And
Yeah.
he's escalating, and I think part of it is and his mother is not talking to him. She's mad at him. She's not returning his calls. She's not talking to him. She's refusing to see him, and I think it's making him a little bit nuts.
I agree. And I also agree with Cleo, Sebastian, and Lance is their
Mm-hmm.
walker food. Yeah, they're gonna
Oh yeah.
die. They
Oh
have
yeah.
to. I mean, there's no way that they're gonna end this series with those two psychos walking around in this world. They're out.
Yeah.
It's just how do they die?
Lance has already got the gaping, wound on the side of his face,
Yeah.
and all I can think of is Daryl, just a little more to the right or left, just a little more.
This is a good thought. So now, okay, so we mentioned, the secrets, somewhat of a secret is kind of out, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like, oh, the Commonwealth is lying to you, but it's so generic in general.
Mm-hmm.
But Rebecca says, are they going to imprison Connie, Daryl, Gabriel, Aaron, and everyone else involved? Good question. Because now, I mean, obviously Connie and Kelly would be the people that they would look at first, right? You printed
Probably,
this.
yeah.
Who, I know it's you. Would they imprison them? Would they try to arrest Daryl and Gabriel and Aaron?
And
And
the funny thing is they are working together at this
yeah,
point. They just happen to be, running parallel lines. Not that I
yeah,
think that Pamela would care, because as far as
yeah,
she's concerned, it looks like a conspiracy. But, yeah,
yeah.
I could see them trying to maybe rounding these people up. But then again, she's also going to have to wonder, where did the information come from?
I know. She is gonna well, she came in when she came in and put that paper down.
Mm-hmm.
Max was looking like, "What is this?" But it's not
Yeah.
lost on me that in that scene she's wearing all white.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I felt like that has some kind of significant thing about Max being in all white
Yeah.
when, that comes out.
Well, and she looks very prim, very,
Yeah,
very. I mean,
she
she's got the
does.
little bit of lace at her throat, and you know, I gotta tell you, it did look a little, um, oh, what do you call it? Mockingbird. That the
President Snow alike.
yeah, you know. I
Yeah,
mean, just that feel to it. I mean, it almost looked a little out of place. You know
yeah.
what I mean?
Mhm.
Um, it looked more like it belonged over there and catching fire or something. But
Mhm.
anyway, but yeah, I mean, it's that there's only a couple of people that could have had that information. Now, of course, someone did slip
That
same
list.
that list, part of that list, not the whole list, part of that
Mhm.
list, um, to what's his name. But
Yeah.
so someone else aside from Max is feeding them information. Question
Mhm.
is, who is that?
Mhm. Mhm.
Honestly, it could have been Carol.
It could yeah, I guess it could have been. You never
Could have been.
know, right? But
Well, Carol's in Lance's office, and that's a
y
list that Lance would have. So it
but you
wouldn't
think she'd
surprise me.
be open enough with her own people to just say, "Look," like, flip it to them, like, and say, "Don't tell anyone," versus just, like, anonymously sending it.
Well, yeah, except for her people, she can't. She could, but she didn't hand that list to her. That list wasn't handed to one of their people. It was handed to the head of security.
Yeah, right.
So Carol handing him that list would look a little suspicious.
Oh, yeah, that's true, I guess. Yeah, it's weird. Yeah, that's true.
But
Um,
someone else is on the inside. And if it's not Carol, and it wasn't Max, I don't know who else would be there that would actually have access to that information.
so who else is around? Okay, so let's think of people that may not be, like, the main character or, like, the main villains, right? But who
Hmm.
else is around? So, I don't
Legitimately, there isn't anybody else. I can't think. I mean, it wasn't Lance.
Mhm.
All right. He's got his own little group as shock troops. Wasn't one of them, and they probably wouldn't have access to that actual list anyway. He probably just verbally gives them instructions. Um,
Well, we noted that
in
was a partial list, right?
Right, it was a
So
partial
maybe
list.
it's someone who is not necessarily in Pamela's office, you know what I'm saying? But someone who is seeing things and writing people down, and that's why the list is incomplete.
Yeah. Now it could be Yukumo. I mean,
Maybe. I mean, she's
I
kind
mean,
of been not around at all that much.
right. I mean, as a lawyer, I don't know why she would have that list
Mhm.
or how she would get access, but I mean, she does have. She's in a position for it.
Mhm.
But again, um, I mean, same reason I suppose with Carol, but I see her actually going to the rest of the group and going, "Hey, I think something's up here." And the fact that
Yeah.
she hasn't makes me a little suspicious. Carol always plays things so close to the vest.
Yeah, she does.
She doles out information as she feels it is necessary.
And Yumiko to me is like a rule follower. Like from the
Hmm.
beginning, she's telling, wanting to tell her brother, why aren't you doing surgery? You know what I'm saying? Like she's
Right.
very rule oriented. So
Yeah.
if she were to find something like that, I would think she would just approach Pamela and ask her about it like a dummy. I feel
Hmm.
like she would be that bold.
Exactly. So I don't know. I mean, Rebecca said it might be a resistance person, and it might be.
Hmm.
Um, I just don't know who it could be because it's not
Yeah.
like Pamela's circle is all that big.
No, and the guy who freaked out, she also mentioned the guy who freaked out on Pamela, that got arrested or, and then he went to the hospital. He disappeared. Like he's
Yeah.
gone. He's on the list.
Hmm.
So I don't think it's him. I
Yeah.
don't know what they did with those people. What did they do with those people? Are they dead? Like,
I
some of
don't
them might
know.
be dead, some of them might be held somewhere. I mean, that's wild that people just disappear, just
You know,
vanish.
yeah. I mean, and people are vanishing and no one's saying anything about it.
Mhm.
Yeah, so that's why I said it wouldn't be all that difficult for Lance at this point to, gather up a couple hundred people and plop them down in those three communities.
Yeah.
I mean, it really wouldn't. Or the ones that they've rounded up. If he feels that they are contrite enough at this point, I'll let you go, but you have to go work at this community. This is your work camp.
Right.
And they could be turned into work camps overseen by, the soldiers. They're not there. They're not free.
Yeah.
They're there as workers. These are work camps.
Oh my god, I could see him doing something like that, easily. I would not have any problem seeing that character trying to do that at all.
Yeah.
Um,
So I mean there's a lot going on. And I gotta tell you, so far The Walking Dead has, done a good job of, giving us the satisfaction of a decent ending for our people,
mhm.
as it's happened. Um, but man, I'll be livid if it's like World Beyond, where everything's just like "Ah!" At the end of this whole thing. I hope not. Um, I did see an interview with the actor that plays Negan, and he said everyone's going to be really happy with the ending. I'm like, okay, I'm going to hold
What
you
does
to
that
that.
mean? Like, whose definition of happy?
Yeah. Well, not that they're going to that we as the watchers will be happy with the ending they're giving us.
Hmm.
So I'm like, all right, Jeffrey Dean Morgan, I'm going to hold you personally to that, to that statement that we're all going to be happy.
I think there was a missed opportunity in this episode with Max, going through all the paperwork in her office and like
Mm-hmm.
searching the files. That could have been a great time to make like a CRM connection.
Yeah.
Like maybe seeing the logo on something in the files or
Yeah.
um
I don't
just
know.
to connect. I just feel like we talked about this earlier in the season. Like, how do they not know about each other?
They have to. They have to know. I mean, maybe the Commonwealth doesn't know about the CRM,
Hmm.
but you absolutely know the CRM knows about them.
Right. Absolutely.
Because I mean they're flung all over the place. I mean, all the way to Portland and what was it? We figured out they were in Oklahoma, right?
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, and they're over into Illinois, and so they're pretty they're spread out pretty far. So there's we know that they've been down into Texas.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, we there's no way that they don't know about the Commonwealth. They're too big not to have been noticed.
That just seems so wild to me. Like, the Commonwealth is out here on their own, spending money, making budgets, right?
I
50 grand.
know.
They got 50 grand extra money. I'm like, what kind of, what in the actual? And I'm like, I can't do Pamela right now. She's like, oh,
Yeah.
we need to spend all this money on the festivities. I'm like,
Yeah.
wow.
Well, and did you see her look when Max said, "Well, we could have a scholarship fund"? And I mean, it looked like she threw up a little bit in her mouth.
She did. She was like, how dare you suggest that? Gross. We need all the money.
Yeah,
How
you
dare you
know,
want to help the poor people?
right. I mean, like I said, I mean, Pamela is very much wants to keep a very, very rigid class system.
Hmm.
Um, and it's not about letting the little guy rise above. This is a and if she has her way, this will be generational.
Yeah.
If your mom is, if your parents are, bakers, and you're going to be a baker, or you're going to have the equivalent thereof. You're not going to rise above that. Whatever your station is, that's where you're staying.
Right.
And the
No
only
fresh
way that
fruit for you.
right, and I think, and she wants
Yeah.
to keep it that the only way that you can get out of it is by
Is
military
the
service.
military. Yeah.
Hmm.
Well, I also really liked Joy's comment. Negan's alive, so that lowers the happiness. I agree
Yeah.
wholeheartedly. I agree wholeheartedly.
That
Like,
was an interesting scene though between Negan and Maggie.
yeah, it was him. or her basically saying, "I'll never forget," but I mean, I gotta trust somebody.
Right.
And
And
why
you
not
saved my
you?
son.
You
You
saved my
say
son,
right.
so I'm starting to trust you, right?
Yeah.
When
Or
it
at least
comes to
with
him.
this. Right.
Yes.
And because she wants her son to be watched over by someone who will, you know, put themselves between him and harm's way. And at this point she knows that Negan will. And at this point, I mean, she can't go to Alexandria.
Mhm.
And even though Oceanside is an option, it's too exposed at this point. She needed him somewhere safe and hidden. And
Mhm.
that's, so she took him to Negan. And Negan's, you can see that he wants to make amends. I can come with. I can help you do this. I'm good at killing people, was the subtext. And
Right.
but and Maggie's like, no, I need you to watch my son, because you could see that as much as Negan could have been an asset to her, I think she needed to be completely undistracted to do it.
Exactly.
And also I think her plan was too is if she did die, because that was a possibility. Her son may not trust Negan, but Negan would keep him alive.
Right. And I think she does trust Negan's wife, Annie, right? Is that her name?
Right.
I feel like she likes her,
Yeah.
and she trusts her.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that was a good choice. And plus, because she might trust him to take care of her son, doesn't mean she 100% trusts him to have her back 100%. And that
Right.
is, like you said, she doesn't need any distractions. She don't need to be
Exactly.
looking where he is,
Mm-hmm.
worried about her kid trying to catch back up. You know how he ran away before to
Yeah.
follow them. She needs to know that she can just take care of this business and not think
Mm-hmm.
about anything else.
Exactly. And like I said, I think there was also, again, to so that she could really focus on the task at hand.
Mhm.
um you know because the task at hand could kill her, and I think
Yes.
she needed to know that if she didn't come back, that while Negan is an asshole, he would protect her son.
Mm. Oh my goodness. Crackhead Meemaw says Glenn is rolling in his grave having Negan around his son. He
Oh,
probably
I
is.
know.
He probably is.
He probably is, but at this point it's, strong survive.
I know.
And Negan is a survivor, and he does have a soft spot for kids. So while it's not ideal, there's really nothing that is ideal in this particular
I
circumstance.
mean, yeah, because she had to deal with that. And I mean, while she just thought it was just going to be Lance and crew, boy, she got a surprise
Mm-hmm.
when she saw it was Leah,
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, this bitch, she's back.
Yeah.
But yeah, she could not. Can you imagine? She would have, well, hypothetically, she could have died,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I get it. Herschel's not trying to hear it, Grimes girl. Yeah, Herschel is gonna hate him for a long time, and I do
Oh
wonder
yeah.
how that's gonna play. Like, I wonder what's gonna happen with Herschel. Like, what's gonna happen in this spinoff show? Is he suddenly is he gonna just get along with him? Is he even gonna be around? Does she leave him somewhere? I'm so curious to see how that's
Yeah.
gonna work.
I gotta say, if they kill Herschel, I'm gonna be really pissed.
No, I don't think they kill him. They better not. That okay, so the kids are off limits. I feel like no killing of the kids. And earlier, Karina asked, who will we want to die, right? I can tell you, not the kids, no kids.
Yeah. I get that. I get it.
And
Honestly, we
yeah,
haven't seen a whole lot of uh crap, I forgot her name now. Um Rick's daughter.
oh, Jude, is that what she's going
Yeah,
by?
Jude. That's it, Jude. We haven't seen we saw what, like one episode, maybe two, this whole mid-season.
Hmm. Yeah, I just yeah, the comment is true. They did kill Carl, so it's possible, but Honestly, Gracie, if they killed her, that would be unfortunate, but my feelings wouldn't be too hurt. Is that bad to say, y'all? I don't know.
Yeah.
She's not.
I would be devastated if Judith was killed. I really
Yeah,
would.
I mean, Jude, aka Judith, or the other way around. She had to save Gracie's crazy self. Like she couldn't defend
Yeah.
herself at all. I'm like, your daddy didn't help you learn anything. What's happening?
Right.
You're a liability, girl. So I don't know. Um, but yeah, my preference would be don't kill the kids. We need somebody to survive. We need them to survive because that would be a great another spinoff. If you want to age those kids up, I would love to see where they're at in a decade.
Oh yeah. I mean, really, remember when we were first watching the previews for World Beyond?
Mm-hmm.
That's really what I thought at first. Before when they were just giving us a little teaser stuff. In my head, it was these were like two generations or something removed from.
Mm-hmm.
These were the ones that had no connection to the past.
Mm-hmm.
And I got to tell you, I think that when I was really disappointed that's not what it was.
Mm-hmm.
Because they kept, it's the kids, new leaders of tomorrow kind of thing or whatever. That whole show was terrible, but but they could have done so much more.
Yeah, they could have. So save the kids for later recycling, right? We can
Yeah.
recycle those characters. But I mean, they're mentioning Aaron would be sad. I wouldn't be mad if Aaron died. I mean,
No, I think they said that they feel bad for Aaron if
if
Gracie.
Gracie, I know, but I'm saying I wouldn't
Yeah.
mind if he died. Like if we're
Yeah.
talking about who we wouldn't mind, I wouldn't mind if he died. I like his
Mhm.
character, but it would be like an acceptable loss. I would not I could see them probably maybe killing off, I don't know. I'd hate to see it, but like Kelly or Connie, I would hate
Yeah.
it, but I could see it. Um
It would make sense, maybe Connie, because that would cut Daryl's ties, for him to
mhm,
go off on adventures with Carol.
exactly. Who else? I mean, I feel like after all of the cancer thing, Ezekiel should live. I'd hate to see him die after all of that. I
Yeah.
feel like he's going to live through. He's going to be some kind of leader where he is.
Yeah. Well,
Um
and I'm kind of like I said, I'm kind of thinking it's going to be Father Gabriel.
mhm. I know. And I don't want him to be killed, but I guess I would understand that as well. Honestly, I wouldn't be
Actually,
totally shocked.
I could actually see him killing Eugene too.
No, crackhead Mima, I don't want her to die, but I'm saying she's an option. I like Connie's character. And actually, I rooted for Connie and
Daryl.
Daryl. I wanted them together, but that's
Oh
not going to
yeah.
happen. It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Like they haven't even barely had any scenes together this season. Like they had the you're back. Here's tap on the shoulder. Like Carol tried to get him to dance with her, he wouldn't do it. So I'm like, I feel like that's just not going to happen. But I like Connie. I would love for her to make it, but
Yeah.
I don't think she's untouchable.
Right.
And yeah, I kind of agree like with Joy as well. Magna could totally be gone. She had like what, two couple scenes this season altogether?
Mm-hmm. Well, part of it is though is they tend to the characters are going to die. They tend to give them a little extra screen time so we can say goodbye to the characters, I guess,
Mhm. Mhm.
and to make their deaths more meaningful.
Mhm.
So that's why I'm saying at this point, I can see Father Gabriel. I
Mhm.
can see Eugene.
Mhm.
Um, I could. I don't want to say it, but I could even see him doing it with Ezekiel.
Oh, that would suck.
I know it would suck. I can see Connie and Kelly.
Mhm.
Because we've had a lot of FaceTime with them. So
Yeah. And I think Eugene could go too, and I wouldn't be bothered by him.
yeah.
I don't know. I mean, because him and Max even looked weird in that scene.
Yeah, a little
I'm
bit.
like, that's a little awkward. And I'm like, Eugene getting it in though. I'm like, he getting the sex all around. But yeah. But it wouldn't surprise me if he survived as well, just because he found his love match probably.
Yeah. It's hard to
Yeah,
say.
I know. So many possibilities, but there's only like what, 8 more episodes left, is that
Mm-hmm.
right?
Something. I'd have to
So
count, but yeah.
I feel like they've opened a bunch of story and we've got 8 episodes to bring this in. So I'm thinking like those episodes are going to be real fast paced with a lot of things happening in each episode.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah. No more
Um,
throwaway episodes.
well, since we're getting here to the end, do we want to flip over and the uh was it water that underwater didn't know
Yeah.
the submarine show?
Submarine show. Okay, so we're going to talk about Dead in
Dead
the
in the
Water for a
water.
little
That's
bit.
it.
So if you don't have AMC Premiere or Plus or whatever the hell it's called, I still don't know. If you don't have that, then you probably don't care about this, or maybe you do.
Well, so basically what it's telling us a story of how the submarine got to where it is. Um, you know,
Another
and
prequel story. Yeah.
yeah, it's a little prequel, and so it kind of explains how the submarine got there and how they knew about the key and everything else. And overall, it was interesting to watch, but I have some issues.
Okay, let's hear Lisa's issues. One by one, we'll tackle the issues. What's your first issue, Lisa?
Okay, we all know that if you go back to the very beginning of The Walking Dead, that the virus was not airborne. Not everyone had it. It had to be transmitted by a bite. Only people bitten. Okay.
Plot
So,
hole.
what happens is they have
Yeah.
a submarine in the middle of the Gulf of Mexico
Underwater.
that's
Underwater.
underwater with no contact through this entire thing. They have no idea what's even going on. A sailor dies, and he comes back as a walker. He had at that point, we technically don't know how it started, but we do know that it was not airborne to begin with.
That
We
is
do know
true.
this.
So that is a huge blaring plot hole in that story.
Huge glaring plot hole. You know,
Oh my God. I didn't even think about that. It's like I knew it, but it's like I did not let it come into my brain. You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
And Karina's right. Jenner said we're all infected. Yes.
But
But that's
not at first.
that's a little bit later on. Because like if this is in the same time frame of say what was happening in the other prequel with the plane, right?
Mm-hmm.
We weren't that far yet. Not everyone was infected, or at least they
Ex-
hadn't I don't know if they weren't all affected yet, or if people hadn't realized they just weren't all infected yet.
well, okay, if you think for up and it wasn't until after Atlanta.
Right.
Okay, after in the original Walking Dead. It
Yep.
wasn't until sometime after them going to the CDC in Atlanta that the people that hadn't been bitten came back, because remember, they were shocked, absolutely shocked when
Yes.
Shane came back. That was the whole
Yes.
big twist. All
Yeah.
right, because when he died, if they had thought that he could come back, they would have shot him in the head or
Right.
whatever. um but that's not what they expected.
Right.
That's how Herschel died, or Herschel got bitten, I mean.
Yeah.
Because nobody was expecting that, because up to this point, unless you were bit, when you died, you died. So it
Yeah, because
went
it
from
seemed like you got bit, you turned.
right.
And how does someone initially turn like after dying in that situation? How does that work? It's so early in the story.
Yeah.
I agree
So
with you. It is a plot hole.
it is a huge plot hole, because again, it wasn't it was, it had to be saliva contact. That it had to break the skin and get saliva on you for you to get the virus. But at some point, it
Mm,
went from contact to airborne, which does happen. Viruses do mutate. They become, airborne, and at this point, now everyone basically, just from being around the dead, have it. But at the
right.
very beginning, these guys in the submarine that had been blocked off, from all human contact from before this was even a thing, because they have no idea what's going on.
Yeah, they were blocked from air as
Yeah.
well. So
So
how?
yeah, they're in a submarine using canned air. They haven't been above surface since before the outbreak.
Mm-hmm.
And so how'd the virus get in there?
Right. So Karina says Rick knew then. Yes, he did know because the guy at the CDC told him. Yeah, we know that, but he
Mm-hmm.
didn't tell anyone they were all infected. Right. We remember that
Yeah.
too. We didn't see anyone die of natural causes or be murdered before Shane. Right. Right. So that holds Lisa's comment about the plot hole. That holds up.
Mm-hmm.
You're supporting it. Right?
Yep.
Tell me if I'm wrong, Karina, and you mean something else. Tell us if you think that's a plot hole or not. I want to make sure I'm understanding.
Well, we did, because we did have people die,
Yeah.
prior to. But unless they had been bitten, they didn't turn, because they had a couple other, it started again. It was sometime around the CDC, and when they was talking to him, the guy did say
Yeah.
it's mutating, and at this point we are all infected.
Right.
So the stipulation was, is at one point it was contact, saliva to person, but it had mutated.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So but
Okay.
even if it
So
wasn't, but even if it was contact, when they went under the water, this was not an infection.
no, it
It
was
was.
fine when they went under. The world was fine when they went under. And we
That's
don't
right.
know unless because I didn't watch it more than once, right? I only watched it one time. So I
Mm-hmm.
don't recall them saying how long they were under. We know they were under long enough for Riley to have a baby.
Yep.
So
Go from a
I'm
sonogram to a
right.
baby.
A sonogram to a baby. So what? At least 6 months, maybe?
Probably.
So
I mean, I never got a
yeah,
good look at the sonogram to see how big the baby was, but I would
right.
say probably about,
Don't they do
at
that
least
around
5 months.
3 or 4 months? Don't they start
Three,
doing
yeah.
sonograms?
Mm-hmm. So at least 5 months. They've been out
Yeah.
at least 5 months.
So I don't know. It just seems odd. I get it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so what's your second what's your second point?
Okay, so they're in a submarine. One of the things that submarines have are fucking doors,
Mhm.
air lock doors.
Mhm.
Okay, I don't understand why, one, they were leaving all the hatches open, and two, why there weren't more hatches.
Mm.
All right, to contain, and they could have contained, because here's the thing: it's not like these zombies step really well. Okay, every walkway has those, you know, lips. They're falling down all over the place. So as long as avoid those areas, they shouldn't have had so many people killed. I mean, come on, these are trained soldiers.
Yeah.
I
I
had
don't
some,
know.
because they didn't, none of, I mean, they came across some doors,
Mhm.
that they opened, but for the most part, this ship was just wide open. And as soon as he hit that alarm, that emergency, and they
Mhm.
don't know what kind of emergency it is, they are supposed to seal all those hatches.
Yeah.
And they weren't.
Right. Well, they weren't doing some stuff they were supposed to be doing on this ship. So, even when it came down to them choosing not to follow the orders, they like bump that. So we're not doing protocol. We're not doing
Mm-hmm.
anything. We're not. Um, yeah, I don't know.
Well, and it's also odd that they didn't get orders. Okay, I know that there was chaos, but the military, and we know this from Fear of the Walking Dead, because they had that whole military thing. Until everything was absolutely broken down at the end, there were still orders coming in.
Mm-hmm.
So why was this particular sub out there in the middle of nowhere with no information?
Yeah, in the Gulf of Mexico.
I mean,
And
if
what? And
they
why
should have at least been
Chicago?
given orders, they should have at least been given orders. There is an outbreak. Stay your post. Do not surface, or something like that.
You're right. Like they wouldn't just be out there not knowing why they're there. At
Mm-hmm.
the very least, the captain would have known, and he could have said it's privileged, right?
Mm-hmm.
um, follow my orders is privileged, but he
Right.
didn't.
And the fact that, okay, they're on a submarine that goes for months
Yeah.
underwater. They don't have a competent doctor. They don't have a surgical unit, and they don't have meds. Are you kidding me?
Like, how are you down there that long and you don't have, like, yeah, meds? That was what killing me in that scene. I'm like, how is this happening?
Why didn't they have antibiotics? Why wouldn't they have? I mean, I understand for the most part they can medevac, but I'm here to. My son was in the Navy, and he's a data guy that he was actually on the USS Enterprise. Was his assignment, and I've known people that have been in nuclear subs. They have a fully equipped med bay. They have to, because they,
Yeah.
even when they're on maneuvers, if there's bad weather, if bad conditions, if something happens, they have to have those supplies.
And
They
no
have,
shade, but someone who is septic like that, they have
yeah,
been in pain for weeks.
yeah,
Weeks. There's no way they just turn septic that fast. It just does not work like that with the appendix.
exactly. So I
It
don't understand why they didn't even have a surgical room. They were in the mess.
yeah,
And I
I
know
don't know.
submarines are small, but they have, you know,
I mean, what if
they have
someone has a heart
doctors.
attack or an asthma attack or anything? Like, you
Yeah.
have to have stuff.
Hmm. Hmm.
It's strange.
Yep. This is what I'm saying. So those were my
See,
issues.
it's like when you start thinking about how things work in the real world and you start trying to apply real world sense to the show, there are problems. But
Did you notice that they lingered way too long in doorways? Did you notice this?
yeah,
Okay,
I'm
everyone that got bit, they were lingering in a doorway.
I
I don't
know,
know about
especially
you.
that last guy. That last guy who was holding the door open, he was just chilling on the door
I
like he
know.
had nowhere to be. I'm like, "Hurry up." And then of course he gets bit. I'm like, "God, I knew it." I'm like, "You're just standing there holding the door like you're holding the door at the movies for
I
people. Come
know.
on
I'm here to
through."
tell you, I would have rabbit bolted through that door and locked it behind me. All right, I'm just saying.
I know. And you know what? He had a good idea. He was like, "Let's try to cut it off. We can cut it off, right? We can cut your,
Hmm.
he's like, "No, just go." And then he like runs into the mob. I'm like, "What the?"
Yeah, I know. Dumbasses.
He could have lived. Let him cut it off. He could have lived.
Well, and lastly, here's the other my last issue. Okay, so they surfaced. Are they saying they swam to shore?
Dude, I was thinking that too because okay, so we knew they were in the Gulf of Mexico, but we didn't know how close they were to shore. We didn't know if they tried to drive it to shore, but it looked like it was beached in Fear the Walking Dead, right? Like it was an accident. It just ended up there.
Yeah, it was beached. And it was
Yeah,
actually quite a ways in. I mean, it's not on the water.
right.
There's no water where it's at. So how did it get there?
So did they all just jump off the top and just swim it?
I don't know.
But
I
that
mean,
can't be. It has to be on the surface for them to get out without
yeah,
that
I
whole
mean,
thing
they
being
were on the
flooded.
surface, but I
Yeah.
mean, so what? I mean, I don't know about you, but I'm not jumping into shark infested waters to swim to shore that may be 10 miles off.
Yeah, and I mean, he had a cell phone that worked, right?
Right. You
So, he
know,
definitely didn't swim a long way if he did, because that cell phone would be toast.
but I don't know why they didn't beach the. I mean, so I don't know, because technically, and they left the hatch open. All right. And if
Ye
there's no one in there to monitor the ship and the hatch is open, it's gonna sink.
yeah, it will.
You know, I mean, they're buoyant, but it's still a submarine. And when it takes on water, you know,
Okay, so Cleo says, "I think so." Come on up. There we go. They said was close and could swim to shore. Okay, so maybe they weren't that far out.
but
So
why
let's
didn't they?
assume they're like what? couple meters out, maybe 10 meters. What, a lap of a pool, Olympic pool, maybe? I don't know.
What do
Maybe
they consider
2.
close?
You could swim 2 laps of a pool easily.
Yeah, but they're still sharks.
There are still sharks.
I'm just saying. Okay, sharks, they like the shallows too.
Yeah, because
Why did
that's like 200 meters maybe. I feel like
so
anyone can swim that.
right? But because the thing, so when we first started to see the first part of it, it seemed that they were quite a ways. They were in the middle of the Gulf. All right,
Mhm.
they weren't near any shore or anything. They were in the middle of the Gulf. We know that there were the one guys did make it, to the control center, and when they flipped the ship.
Yeah.
So it would have made more sense, honestly, for them to beach it. But I don't know. But again, if they didn't beach it, I have no idea how it got inland like it did.
Well, we didn't see them beach it because we saw everyone shift forward when the thing started rising really quickly.
Uh-huh.
So we saw everyone kind of go flying, but we didn't see anyone flying again, like from it hitting the sand or anything. So that
Yeah.
didn't happen. We know they got to the top, but it wasn't beached when they got off. It couldn't have been.
Yeah.
It couldn't have been.
I don't know. I mean, even a hurricane. I don't know if maybe a hurricane could have lifted it and put it inland, but God, that would be. I mean, these aren't small boats. They're not light. I mean,
They're
they're
heavy, very
heavy.
heavy. Yeah.
And again, if the hatch is open, it's gonna sink. And when they, and again, when it was found by by Morgan, if it had sunk under the water, none of those electronics would have worked.
Yeah, it was dry in there. It was bone dry in there.
It was sealed even.
Yeah.
So I don't
I
know.
don't know.
It
I
doesn't make
guess
any sense.
technically they could have gotten out, stood on the top, and sealed the top before they jumped.
I suppose, but they basically, the implied is they left the hatch open.
Oh, Lord. Yeah. But then, Riley is sitting on the beach contemplating life
Wet,
and death.
wet
Yeah, wet.
on a cell phone. Wet.
Yes.
Okay. I don't know about you, but most cell phones can't, take a dunking in the toilet. I'm not sure how they're going to survive going into the ocean, seawater at that.
Well, I mean, especially based on what time frame we're talking about, right? Cell
Mm-hmm.
phones today in 2022 can get a little wet, right? Not swim in the ocean wet, but a little wet.
I've got an otter case for mine. It can be dropped up to 10 feet without it, whatever.
The ocean is deeper than that, but
I know. But again, I mean, back then they didn't have. I mean, it was a flip phone.
Like, what year was that? Like, what? I mean, if we had to guess, I don't even know, the 90s, the 2000s.
It was the 2000s. It was 2000s.
So 2000s. I'm like, those phones could not touch water. People, you'd be trying to put it in rice to get it dry.
Exactly, but he's doing just fine on the beach.
I
also thought, man, his girlfriend made it until he called.
That was so sad.
And then she still had. I mean, it had. I mean, this couldn't have been going on very long because it had cell service.
Yeah, because everything went down after a while. So
I mean, she picked up on a home phone.
Yeah,
it wasn't a cell phone. She picked up on a home phone. I know this because you heard the beginning of the answering machine.
You heard the machine, yeah.
And then she picked up, and you can't do that with a cell phone.
No, you can't.
So she picked up on a home phone. Now, home phones don't actually require power to work as long as they're not cordless.
Right.
But, I don't know.
I don't know either.
Because we know that cell service and everything else went down quickly.
Yeah.
So
I don't know. Maybe he had that glowing T-Mobile service that never goes down. I don't know.
Can you hear me now?
I know, right? I know. But I kind of thought that was cool. He was like contemplating death, you know. He was really trying to
Mm-hmm.
kill himself when Teddy walks up on
Yeah.
him, right? He's like, "This is not the end." He's like, "Huh?" He's like, "What?" He's
This is
like,
the
"This is the
beginning.
right." And I'm like, "Okay, got it." So
Yep.
I
Here we
kind of
go.
like overall, I liked it. It was interesting to watch.
Yeah.
You know, when when you're not nitpicking it to death, but
I
after,
did enjoy it. I just was frustrated with it. Come
right?
on,
I
guys.
get
You've
it.
met me.
I
You know,
know. I'm like, I know you. I knew you would come with some legitimate things. I honestly did.
never take me to the movies.
Oh my god, right. People like, what's happening? How does this make sense? It doesn't. Like, just ignore it and go along, Lisa. Go along.
I will for a little while, but but then I'll, I just there's a suspension of disbelief, and then there's come on.
I
You know,
know. There was a lot of come on. I get it, but I still like the story. It was fun.
I mean, I did enjoy the
Yeah.
backstory, and how Teddy arrived on the scene, and the ship and stuff. But again, it still doesn't explain a lot of things.
Yeah. Well, there's more to be found out, and Grimes Girl commented it's all connected somehow, the CDC and TWD, fear, and the world beyond.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to come together. Hopefully, eventually, one day. I don't know. I mean, they're going to drag this stuff out forever, right?
Oh, probably.
Forever. As long as AMC is like, let's do it, they're going to drag it out.
Oh,
We'll
yeah.
never know. It'll be 5-6 more years and we still won't know what the real deal is.
They are the zombie channel at this point.
I know. They're going to keep going until they can't do it anymore, right?
Right.
Or until all the fans drop off and stop watching, then they'll give up and give us the final chapter. So we will see. Anyway, I think we're done. What do you think, Lisa?
I do believe we are done.
All right, y'all. Thanks for tuning in today. If you were here live, we appreciate you for being here. If you're listening on the replay, we appreciate you for listening to the entire episode. Before you go, be sure to hit the like button on whatever platform you are tuning in from. And we will see you guys next week. Until then, take care of yourselves. Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.